Most people see being alone as a failure. They desperately avoid it. They sprint away from it. But I need you to understand something. If you're a woman standing without a crowd, you're not fragile. You are intensely powerful. You are holding a space very few have the courage to enter. And if you stay on this path, the life you forge will be more resilient than any life built on flimsy connections. The quiet arrives. There's a point where the world just goes silent. No dings from your phone, no invites, no back and forth noise, only you. That moment lands with a weight you feel in your chest. The room itself seems to shrink just a bit. The very air seems dense. You glance at your phone from pure reflex. Blank screen. You glance again a few minutes later. Still blank. And then the thought lands hard. They've moved on without you. It feels like everyone else is surging forward, chasing big plans and living full lives. And you're just sitting there, completely stalled. It's so easy to let the belief in you must be the problem. You're defective or falling behind schedule. Your brain, hungry for an explanation, starts inventing painful narratives, harsh stories that insist you're not good enough, you've missed your chance, that you're simply not seen. In the quiet, these stories get very loud. The stillness becomes a reflection, bouncing back every insecurity, every doubt you've been working so hard to ignore. And right there, it's easy to just collapse, to accept the worst narrative about yourself, to fall under the pressure of your own questioning mind. But hear me, that quiet you dread is not your adversary. It is a profound gift that most will never get. Or, even worse, they'll get it and be too scared to use it. That quiet room is an open field, fresh and teeming with possibilities. When no one is around dictating who you should be, when your mind isn't flooded with outside opinions, when all the chatter finally subsides, something incredible happens. For the first time in what feels like forever, maybe for the very first time, you are in control. You are the architect of your own tomorrow. Every design you draft, every foundation you lay, every bold move you make, it's entirely yours. No one to please, no role to play, no critics to win over, just you, your vision, your power of choice. This is where authentic strength is forged, not from the sound of a roaring crowd, but from the deep courage it takes to build something when there is no applause. Most will never stay still long enough to feel this. They hit the panic button at the first hint of quiet. They grab their phones, they fill their heads with noise, they chase any crumb of approval to pack into that uncomfortable void. But to flee the quiet room is to flee yourself, and you can't construct anything real if you are perpetually in retreat. You must stand right there in that awkward stillness and look at everything you've been running from. You have to encounter yourself in your rawest state, unedited, exposed, and vulnerable. That is the arena of transformation. That is where the most solid people are built. Not in the glare of the spotlight, but in the solitude of the shadows. Not when they have fans cheering, but when they are surrounded by their own doubt and choose to have faith anyway. Because if you can flourish in that quiet room, if you can build resilience when no one is looking, if you can value yourself when there's no praise, if you can keep going when no one is cheering, you will be a force of nature when the world finally pays attention to you again. The reality is, most people are only as strong as the validation they're getting. But when you've been shaped by silence, when your sense of self has been assembled piece by piece in solitude, you don't merely get by when the audience leaves. You expand. You stop needing to be validated. You are the validation. You stop hoping for a spot at the table. You build a new one. You stop being afraid of your own company. You welcome it because you know the quiet room is never empty. It is filled with pure potential. Yes, the quiet room is lonely in the beginning. It can feel like a penalty. It seems deeply unfair. But wait a little while. Sit with the discomfort. Feel its heaviness without reaching for an escape, because just past that first surge of anxiety, something remarkable is waiting for you. A version of you that is tougher, clearer, and more centered than you ever dreamed. A self that doesn't need noise to confirm its existence. A self that doesn't fracture when the attention shifts. A self that builds dreams and becomes no matter who is or isn't there to witness it. So the next time you land in that stillness, when the social calendar clears, when the texts stop, when the noise fades out, do not scramble to fill the space. Do not run. Do not go numb. Stay. Stay there long enough to hear your own rhythm again. Stay there long enough to recall who you were before the world gave you a script. Stay there long enough to take charge and start crafting your life's work, one choice, one lesson, one truth at a time. Because the quiet room is not where your life ends. It's where your real life begins. And once you grasp that, you will see you were never forgotten. You were being forged. Most people are afraid of stillness because they are afraid of themselves. They will do anything to dodge it. They saturate their lives with static gossip about people who don't matter, an endless stream of parties that are all the same, distractions that slowly erode their time. They seek out loudness, believing that if their surroundings are busy enough, they might not have to face the questions they're too afraid to ask. They use chaos as a hiding place. But they know, deep down, it's a flimsy defense because silence makes you take off the armor. It demands you face the truth, and for many, that truth is a weight they cannot bear by themselves. When you don't have friends, a packed schedule, or a fake smile to wear, you are made to look at what's real. You are put face to face with the one person you cannot fool yourself. Not the curated version you show everyone else. Not the diluted personality you use to fit in, but the raw, honest, and unshakable you. The version of you that knows your deepest desires. The version of you that recalls the ambitions you traded for acceptance. The version of you that craves meaning while your outer life is busy chasing likes. And no, it's not neat. It's complex. It's raw. It's unsettling. But it's also the ground where everything genuine is planted. The noise they chase is a narcotic. A method for staying numb. A technique for postponing the moment of self-confrontation. Because sitting with yourself in stillness demands accountability. Who are you without the social media buzz, the texts, the party invites? What do you believe in when there's no audience to give you a standing ovation? What do you actually stand for when you're not just trying to fit in? Most can't bear the gravity of these questions. They would choose to stay busy over staying authentic. They would choose to fill a room with pointless chatter over filling their soul with hard-earned truths. But you, if you're courageous enough, will spot the incredible opportunity inside the stillness. You will understand that each quiet moment is a gateway to rebuilding, reinventing, and rising. When the noise dies down, when the performance ends, when the temporary crowd goes home, you get to make a choice. You can either hit the panic button and run back to the noise, or you can stay. Stay with the awkwardness, stay with the void, stay with the questions. Because staying is how you confront what you have been avoiding, and confronting it is how you finally get free. You'll come to see that most friendships you thought were essential weren't about real connection. They were about keeping you distracted. Most parties you thought you loved weren't about having fun. They were about running from yourself. Most chats you needed so badly weren't about evolving. They were about being occupied enough not to hear your own insecurities. Once you perceive the illusion behind the noise, you can't go back. You'll begin to desire stillness the way others desire the spotlight. You'll start to choose substance over static, mission over popularity, and solitude over superficial praise. And here is the fascinating paradox. The second you no longer need the noise, you become a person others are drawn toward. Because genuine substance is powerful. True authenticity is a magnet. While others are running around trying to find themselves in the reflection of other people, you will already be there, centered, stable, and strong. You'll stop compromising to get an invitation. You'll stop making yourself smaller to be liked. You'll stop censoring yourself to avoid feeling alone. You'll become someone who doesn't just get through the quiet. You will harness its power. The world doesn't need more static. It needs more people who can enter a chaotic space and remain entirely centered. It needs more people who can sit alone with their own mind and not break. It needs more people who are okay with being perceived as different, complex, or even ignored because they know their own value beyond anyone else's opinion. Silence is not your foe. Feeling lonely is not your sentence. They are your trainers. They cut away everything that is not essential. They dismantle all the false beliefs. They bring you into a direct encounter with the one person who can fundamentally change your reality, you. And when you finally sit with yourself, no distractions, no masks, no static, you discover the thing you were so scared of all this time wasn't the quiet. It was your own power waiting for you to claim it. Isolation is not a penalty. It is a reflection. And it's the most truthful reflection you will ever see. It takes away the static, the easy outs, the applause, and the comforting pats on the back from others. It forces you to stand unadorned with no stage, no lights, no one to energize you. There is only you, your thoughts, your worries, your hopes, your questions. Isolation reflects precisely who you are when you think no one is there, when there is no performance to give, no effort to be praised, no existence to be confirmed by another. It gives you an image of the self you can no longer run from. And in that image, you'll see it all, the strength you didn't know you had, the fears you never faced, the insecurities you hid away, and the dreams you dismissed as out of reach. Isolation does not candy coat reality. It won't flatter you. It will not offer you any excuses. It just reveals what is true. And that is the exact point where transformation ignites. Personal evolution does not happen in a crowd. It never occurs while you are bathed in approval and applause. In reality, a crowd often puts growth on hold because it offers just enough validation to keep you exactly where you are. Authentic change happens in the wilderness, in the stillness, in the quiet, in the territory where few are brave enough to venture. It occurs when you are made to sit with your own inner conflicts, your own vulnerabilities, your own untapped abilities. When there's no one to point a finger at, when there are no more distractions to hide behind, that is when you meet the raw reality of who you've been and who you are capable of becoming. Most people run from isolation because they are terrified of what they will find in that reflection. They're afraid to learn that they're not as resilient as they've pretended, that they've been chasing someone else's idea of a good life, that their confidence was entirely propped up by the opinions of others. But if you can tolerate the discomfort, if you can fight the urge to numb it, escape it, or drown it out, you'll discover something of immeasurable value. You'll find the very core of real power, true clarity, and genuine purpose. You'll find the parts of you that were buried under piles of expectations and noise. You will see that everything you truly needed was never out there with the crowd. It was always inside you, waiting for the quiet to finally let it out. Isolation is not a hex, it's an invitation. It is the cosmos pulling you away from the noise, far from the distractions, to have a deeply honest talk with your soul. It's posing the question, who are you when the audience goes home? What do you stand for when there's no one to clap for you? What is your truth when standing by yourself is your only move? These are not comforting questions. They don't have simple answers, but they are the bedrock of genuine power. Because when you emerge from that period of isolation, after you've contended with your fears and faced your doubts, after you've looked into that mirror without backing down, you return changed. Not with a fragile strength, not with a look at me bravado, but with a silent, immovable power. The kind of power that doesn't need to be seen by others to be real. The kind that can stand alone, unashamed. The kind that doesn't shatter the second the praise dies down. So, the next time your life brings you into solitude, don't interpret it as a rejection. See it as a sacred time for training. See it as the place where your true self is finally allowed to emerge. See it as the fire where your future self is being shaped. Because the most resilient, powerful versions of who we are aren't created when we're surrounded by people. They are created when we are standing alone in the wild and decide to keep going anyway. With no friends to fall back on, without a support section to boost you when you fall, something profound takes place. You are required to become your own rescue. Initially, it feels harsh. It feels like you've been abandoned. It feels as if the universe has completely forgotten about you. But beneath that feeling of loneliness is a powerful gift most people will never get. You learn to be the one who gets you back on your feet after a setback. You become your own source of comfort, the steady hand that pulls you up, the quiet voice that says, "Don't you dare stop." Even when there's no one else around, you become your own source of warmth in the cold, your own stability in the storm, your own light when your world goes dark. In the absence of an audience, you learn to become self-sufficient. You break the habit of relying on borrowed power. You stop outsourcing your value to people who could never grasp the battles you fight internally. You learn what it truly means to be firmly planted on your own feet, to rely on your gut feelings, to honor your own path without requiring spectators. The quiet teaches you things that applause could never reveal. It compels you to meet yourself at your most vulnerable and to love that version of you. It compels you to keep moving ahead even when nobody is watching, even when there's no praise, even when there's no one extending a hand. And through that difficult, powerful process, you forge a type of self-respect that is immune to outside forces. You quit bending yourself out of shape for acceptance. You quit shrinking yourself for approval. You quit waiting for someone else's green light to be proud of yourself. Self-motivated, self-reliant, self-respecting. That is what you become when the world around you quiets down. You grasp that the hunt for validation, that intense need for someone else to declare you good enough, was always a dead end. It was always a mirage. Your value was never designed to be a group effort. It was never intended to be so fragile that it could be given to you one day and snatched away the next. Your worth was established the moment you arrived on this earth, solid, absolute, and not subject to the opinions of others. Most people live their lives trying to cover up their insecurities with approval from the outside. They pursue likes, praise, and fleeting friendships, thinking that the noise will patch up the hollowness inside. But it's always temporary, because real power, real self-assurance, and real peace cannot be handed to you. It has to be built from the inside out. It must be forged in the quiet hours, in the private struggles, in the moments when giving up would be the easiest path, but you choose to continue. You choose to stand up for yourself, not because anyone is looking, not because you'll get a reward, but because you've finally decided you are worth the fight. When this transformation occurs, when you no longer require anyone's validation to feel proud, when you stop seeking applause to feel alive, when you are no longer hungry for nods and smiles and handshakes, you become truly formidable. You enter a room with a different energy. You make choices from a different place. You navigate life with a quiet confidence that is impossible to imitate and impossible to destabilize. Others will sense it. They may not have the words for it, but they will feel your presence. Because strength forged in solitude makes an impression that the world simply cannot dismiss. So if you are currently alone, rebuilding your life from the ground up, don't be bitter about it. Embrace it fully, lean into it. Because while so many are busy begging for approval, you are busy building something that can never be dismantled, an unshakable sense of self. And one day, when the noise comes back, when the crowds reappear, when the invitations start to flow in again, you won't need any of it to feel complete. You will already know exactly who you are, and that kind of strength is indestructible. Many women build a huge circle of friends, constructing social networks so vast and active that to an outsider it appears they are cherished, completely supported, and never alone. But looks are often deceiving, because when a real crisis hits, when life brings devastating loss, betrayal, a broken heart, or failure, they suddenly find they are all by themselves. Those dozens of so-called friends are suddenly gone. The phone that never stopped buzzing now stays silent. The invitations stop coming. The friendly faces disappear. And all that's left is the hollow feeling of relationships founded on what was easy, not on what was real. Superficial friendships are great during the easy times. They create the feeling of belonging, of being important, of being cared for. But life seasons shift, and when the harsh winter arrives, when life calls for something authentic and resilient, shallow roots will not hold against the storm. True friendship is different. True, deep connection is a rarity. It doesn't grow from a place of desperation or from an attempt to fill your inner voids with noise and attention. It comes from a place of inner fullness, from being so secure in your own self-respect and self-worth that you no longer latch on to people simply because you're scared of being by yourself. When you are complete on your own, when you have cultivated a life, a perspective, and a spirit that doesn't shatter when left to stand alone, you begin to attract people differently. You no longer draw in those who are just there to consume your energy. You stop giving your time to those who only want to drain you. You start to emit a new kind of power, a quiet strength that pushes away the superficial and welcomes the genuine. You start to encounter people who actually see you, the real you, not as a character in their story, not as a matter of convenience, but as an equal who stands on their own solid ground. They notice the battles you've won, the storms you've weathered, the scars you carry with pride, and they aren't scared by it. They don't leave. They don't try to diminish you so they can feel more comfortable. They respect your strength because they've walked through their own fires as well. Choosing substance over mere company isn't about pushing people away. It's about rejecting anything that makes you feel small. It's about saying no to lukewarm friendships, to performative bonds, and to pointless talks that leave you feeling empty. It's about understanding that your time, your energy, and your inner peace are sacred resources, and not everyone has earned the right to access them. It is about respecting yourself enough to be patient for the kind of connections that don't ask you to dilute yourself in order to be accepted. And yes, the journey toward deep connection can be very lonely at first. There will be times when you walk primarily by yourself. There will be nights when you question if authentic connection even exists in a world that celebrates what's on the surface. But hold your ground. Trust this path, because the substance you are cultivating in your own life will eventually be the very thing that attracts souls who resonate with your own spirit. Souls who have no interest in using you or fixing you, who just want to walk alongside you as peers, as warriors, as kindred spirits reflecting the same inner fire. The fact is, it is far better to walk by yourself than to be in a crowd of people who can't even see the true you. It is better to create a life that feels full and meaningful in solitude than to exhaust your energy trying to hold up relationships that would shatter at the first sign of trouble. Choosing substance over company isn't about being isolated. It is about leveling up. It is about growing into a version of yourself so real, so strong, so complete that the right people can't miss you. And when they show up, you won't have to hold on tight. You won't have to run after them. You won't have to audition for them. They will see your value because it was never hidden. It was just waiting for someone with enough depth to recognize it. There will be moments when loneliness feels like a crushing weight you just can't shake. Moments when it sticks to you, getting under your skin, and makes every minute feel stretched out, colder and more difficult. In those times, it's so easy to grab for anything, for anyone, just to feel a bit less by yourself. You'll feel the pull to drop your standards, to accept compromises you promised you never would, to let people into your world who don't deserve a seat at your table. You will reason with yourself that anything is better than this emptiness. But you must resist. Fight that pull with all your might. Because feeling lonely is a passing state. Settling for less is a permanent choice. Taking less than you are worth just to escape a moment of discomfort will cost you far more than you think. It will slowly wear away at your spirit. It will quietly undermine your self-respect through tiny compromises that feel insignificant at first, but build up over time until you no longer recognize yourself. Settling for a shallow connection might numb the immediate sting of being alone, but it deepens a much more significant injury, the wound of abandoning your own soul. Each time you take less than your spirit knows it's worth, you reinforce the belief that your standards, your values, and your dreams don't really matter. Loneliness, regardless of how much it hurts, is a season. It has a beginning and an end. But building a life with people who don't genuinely see you, who don't genuinely appreciate you, who take your energy and dim your own light, that is a cage with lasting consequences. It is much simpler to get through a lonely evening than it is to free yourself from a life built on compromises you never intended to make. The age of temporary loneliness is a challenge, a test. It's asking you, can you hold your ground? Can you stay loyal to what you know you are worth, even when it's painful? Maintain your high standards, not because you are arrogant, but because you have a profound, unshakable respect for the life you are creating. Protect your spirit, treat it as the invaluable treasure it is. You were not put here to fill your life with empty companionship just to run from your fears. You are here to create something real, something that lasts, something that aligns with your soul. Genuine connection cannot be rushed. True companionship demands that you be patient. It requires you to journey through the quiet of solitude without giving up. It requires you to believe, with fierce determination, that you are worthy of the kind of love and friendships that don't force you to shrink or to settle. So when that urge to settle arrives, and it definitely will, face it with your strength. Face it with the memory of every time you compromised and paid the price. Face it with the clear vision of the life you intend to build. Allow loneliness to make you sharper, not weaker. Let it bring clarity to what you truly want, not confusion. Because the person who stands firm during the lonely seasons is the person who gets to have a life overflowing with substance later on. A life where every bond is based on truth, not on fear. Where every connection mirrors the respect you first learned to give to yourself. And that kind of life is worth every single lonely night it requires to create it. You cannot fake self-respect. You cannot fake inner calm. You cannot fake resilience. It doesn't matter how well someone curates their image, authenticity recognizes authenticity. Either you've been through the fire or you haven't. Either you've sat by yourself with your fears, looked them in the eye, and chosen not to be defeated, or you've pushed them down with noise, distractions, and hollow praise. There are no shortcuts. The kind of inner change that makes people notice your presence before you've even spoken a word only comes from the battles you win when absolutely no one is around to see them. This loneliness you're experiencing, this ache you feel, this stillness that at times feels like it could consume you, this is not a punishment. It is a sacred process, a place where the inauthentic parts of you get burned away so that what is real can be fortified. Every single day that you stand your ground and refuse to give in, refuse to retreat to what's comfortable, refuse to accept what's superficial, refuse to numb yourself with noise, you are reshaping yourself into something potent and undeniable. You are becoming the kind of individual who doesn't just get through a storm. You become the storm itself. Your power wasn't borrowed from others. It was built, forged into reality by every solitary night, every tear you dried on your own, every vision you kept alive. Most people will never grasp the cost of that kind of transformation. They will witness your confidence, your tranquility, the quiet strength you exude, and they'll just think you were always that way. They won't have seen the nights you waged war in your own mind. They won't have seen the moments you were on the verge of giving up but refused. They won't have seen the long hours spent wrestling with your own doubt and fear. But you will know precisely what it took. And that deep, unshakable awareness will become the foundation of a life that no one can ever diminish. Every second you hold on, you are becoming someone formidable, someone unforgettable, someone who doesn't merely inspire others, you awaken something powerful within them. And one day, you will survey your life and understand that you didn't just endure your loneliness, you transformed it into your greatest strength. The most profound changes occur in silence. They take place when no one is there to see them. There are no cheers for the woman who stays up reading, giving up sleep to grow her mind. There are no trophies for the woman who picks discipline over easy gratification, saying no to fleeting joys to build something that lasts. There is no applause for the woman who silently rewrites the negative stories in her head, training herself to think with more clarity and believe with more conviction. There's no ceremony for healing your own past, no award for facing your own shadows and deciding to become stronger instead of hardened. No one witnesses the private battles, the tiny everyday decisions to treat herself with kindness. But these are the victories that truly define you. Strength that is built in the quiet becomes unbreakable in the chaos. A woman who cultivates herself in the unseen moments is a woman who will not be defeated when life puts her to the test. She does not fall apart when criticized because she's no longer looking for the world to confirm her worth. She doesn't get lost in turmoil because she has already found her anchor in her own discipline. Most will never see the nights she was ready to quit, the nights she cried herself to sleep and still got up, the moments she doubted it all but chose faith anyway. The world doesn't give out awards for invisible triumphs, but those triumphs forge a resilience that never needs to be announced and a power that doesn't need anyone's approval to be real. When you build yourself in private, you construct a foundation that is unshakable. So when your own growth feels unwitnessed, when your progress seems to go unnoticed, just remember, the efforts you make in private are what enable you to shine in public. That invisible progress is not a waste, it is sacred. It is what sets you apart. It is constructing something within you that noise and applause could never create. And then one day, effortlessly, you will walk into a room with a presence so strong that even the loudest people will quiet down. Because genuine growth doesn't need to make a scene, it just is. Some people will never understand you. No matter how purposefully you act or how authentically you live, they will just not get you. Their opinion is not your problem. Their failure to understand you is not your job to fix. You were not created to squeeze yourself into the narrow boxes constructed by limited minds. You were never supposed to dilute yourself just to make others feel at ease. As you elevate yourself, you will inevitably outgrow certain people. You'll sense the distance increasing between you and those you used to call friends. You'll start talking less because the words you choose now have more meaning. You will realize that superficial chats drain your energy and that trying to belong feels more like being trapped than being accepted. Not everyone is destined to join you on your path. People with small perspectives will mistake your dedication for detachment, your focus for superiority. But you are the one who knows the silent wars you wage to become this version of yourself. You know what it costs to build a mind that doesn't shatter when loneliness hits. You have nothing to prove to anyone about the strength you had to create in private. Keep moving forward. Keep elevating. Not everyone has earned a ticket to witness your evolution. Feeling loyal to your past self is not a valid reason to remain connected to people who are content to stay stagnant. You have every right to grow beyond those who choose not to. And when they talk behind your back, when they spread gossip, when they remark that you've changed, just smile. Let them. Let them fail to understand, because while they are busy dissecting your life, you are busy living it. While they hold on to a past version of you, you are stepping into a future they can't even fathom. You are not aloof, you are clear. You are not unavailable, you are selective. You are not overly serious, you are deeply committed to not wasting your energy on things that don't serve your bigger vision. Big goals demand a big spirit, and a big spirit will always seem like too much for a small mind. So you must protect your energy, shield your peace, and never apologize for your own evolution. Even if you have to grow alone for a while, you are not here to be understood by the masses. You are here to live a life that only a select few will ever be able to comprehend. There's a specific kind of power that comes from the certainty that you can make your journey alone. A quiet, deep power, when you can walk into stillness to the point where the only sound is your own echo, and you feel no panic. You have faith in your own feet. You have faith in your own spirit. You have faith in the life that you are building. When you are truly comfortable walking by yourself, it alters your entire reality. It means that when you decide to walk with someone else, you do so from a position of power, not desperation. You aren't desperately holding on because you are scared to be alone. You aren't shrinking yourself to fit into a life that is out of alignment with your truth. You are choosing with freedom, with power, with awareness. You are communicating, I am complete on my own. I am whole by myself, but I am choosing to share this part of my journey with you because I want to, not because I'm required to. A profound sense of calm washes over you once you grasp that you don't need anyone to confirm your strength. You don't need constant reassurance to trust your own compass. You don't need to be saved when the path gets difficult, because you have already learned how to rescue yourself from much deeper challenges. You stop pursuing people who don't appreciate you. You stop twisting yourself into knots to get an invitation. Instead, you become deeply and unshakably anchored in your own being. You begin to understand that anyone who joins you on your path is a gift, not a requirement, a deliberate choice, not a support system. The amazing thing about walking alone is that it clarifies your perception. It removes the haze of distraction. You begin to see with perfect clarity who belongs in your life and who is only there to fill a space that you no longer have. You are constructing a legacy, even if it's not visible at this moment. Every time you pick self-respect over cheap validation, every time you honor the call of your soul over the noise of the crowd, every time you choose quiet solitude over empty company, you are leaving behind a trail. A trail that doesn't just show where you have been, it illuminates the path for others who will follow. You are demonstrating to future generations what it means to stand with integrity without needing a group to hold you up. You are teaching without lecturing. You are leading without ordering. You are inspiring without acting. You are proving, with quiet conviction, that a woman's value is not determined by how many people she can gather, but by the depth, the self-discipline, and the immovable strength she forges within herself. And do not be mistaken, the world is paying attention even when it pretends it isn't. The young girl who feels like she doesn't belong, the woman who's been told she is too much, the souls who are secretly desperate for permission to be their full selves. They are all watching you. Your courage gives them the silent permission they need to rise. Your example quietly assures them that it is possible. A woman who can master solitude is a woman who can master anything. Her peace is untouchable. Her drive is unstoppable. Her authenticity is unrivaled. She does not enter a room hoping to be picked. She enters having already chosen herself. She does not make herself small to be accepted. She stands in her full power, whether it makes others uncomfortable or not. She does not cling to relationships out of insecurity. She builds them from a place of abundance, of truth, of completeness. Every firm boundary you draw, every high standard you uphold, every lonely night you face with dignity, these are all part of a story that declares a woman's worth is non-negotiable. Keep going, because one day, when another woman finds herself in her own wilderness and thinks she cannot continue, she will find your trail. And because of you, she will keep walking,